Our story today takes place in the desert. So many of the stories of the people of God take place in the desert. The desert is a dangerous place. There's no water, so there's no way to grow food. People need food in order to survive. The desert is incredibly hot during the day and very cold at night. The wind changes the shape of the desert, so it can be incredibly easy to lose your way. The people of God, the Israelites, lived in a place where no rain was falling. They were in a time of famine. And because of that, there was no way to grow grain to make bread. And they were very hungry. And the children cried in their sleep. So the parents decided to journey to a new land to find food. And they had to cross the desert. The journey across the desert was very long, and it was incredibly hard. But finally, God's people, the Israelites, made it to Egypt, and they found jobs and food. However, Egypt was ruled by a king named Pharaoh, and Pharaoh was a very cruel man. And Pharaoh tricked and he trapped God's people, the Israelites, and now they were slaves. And Pharaoh told them when they could sleep, and Pharaoh told them when they could eat. Worst of all, Pharaoh worked them very hard. Pharaoh was a very cruel ruler. Finally, God sent Moses to Pharaoh to ask for the freedom of his people. So Moses went to Pharaoh and he said, "Let my people go." And Pharaoh said, "No." And unfortunately, 10 plagues followed the people. And each time Moses went back to Pharaoh, Moses would say, "Let my people go." Time and time again, Pharaoh said, "No." Now, the 10th plague was the worst plague of all. All of the firstborn sons of the Egyptian families died. But the firstborn sons of the Israelite families were protected, for the Lord had told Moses to tell the people to take the blood of a lamb and put it over the doors and the lintels of their homes. And the angel of death passed over the people of Israel, and their sons were protected. And one last time, Moses went to Pharaoh and said, "Let my people go." And Pharaoh, who was so sad because his son had died, said, "Go, leave, take your people, get out of this place." So Moses and all of God's people packed up and very quickly left Egypt. They left Egypt so quickly that they didn't even have time to add leaven to their bread. So they had to leave with a special kind of flatbread called matzah. Maybe you can taste matzah and be reminded of this story. Quickly, they headed out across the desert. But just as they had feared, they heard a sound behind them of chariots and horses. Pharaoh had sent his army after the people. He had changed his mind. Oh, but in front of them was the Red Sea. Pharaoh's army behind them, the Red Sea in front of them. The people were pinned and the people were scared. But the Lord was very close to Moses, and Moses was so close to the Lord that Moses knew what God wanted him to do. And he raised his staff, and the Lord parted the sea. And the people were able to cross. This is the first one. It's very courageous. This one is just happy. This one is scared. And this one is confused. And these two are so happy to be free. And when God's people, the Israelites, made it safely across to the other side, the waters came back together. And the people were so happy that they were free, that they danced and they sang and they praised God for being with them on this journey. Now I wonder what part of this story you think is most important. I wonder what part of this story you think is the best. I wonder what part of the story is just for you today. Happy wondering.